Welcome back to this Texas Scream Fest, everybody. I'm still having nightmares from the first video. Texas is seriously one of the most haunted states in the country. From abandoned hospitals to ghost-infested bridges, the spirits here do not rest easy. But you know what? I couldn't stay away. There are just too many terrifying places left to explore. So, welcome to part 2 of the most haunted places in Texas, where we dive even deeper into the shadows of the Lone Star State. The ghosts in this video might not be as terrifying as watching a Cowboys game in the fourth quarter. But hey, maybe Texas hauntings and heartbreak just go hand in hand. Either way, if you thought the last batch of haunted locations was creepy, just wait until you see what I found this time. If you love all things haunted, mysterious, and spine-chilling, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way you won't miss any of the eerie legends and ghostly encounters I uncover. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to share it with your fellow ghost hunters and horror fans. The more, the merrier. Or should I say, the more, the scarier. All right, grab a flashlight, say a quick prayer, and let's jump into the haunted history of Texas. Again. I just hope I make it through this one without another round of sleepless nights. Let's go. Welcome to Screamville. All right, ghost enthusiasts, our first stop takes us to Goliad, Texas, home to Presidio La Bahia. This historic fort is not just a relic of the past, it's a living, breathing testament to the rich and tumultuous history of Texas. Nestled in the heart of Goliad, this fort has stood the test of time, witnessing countless events that have shaped the region and the nation. Built in the 1700s, this fort has witnessed everything from Spanish conquests to the Texan Revolution. The architecture itself is a marvel, showcasing the craftsmanship and ingenuity of the builders who constructed it. The thick stone walls, the sturdy battlements, and the strategic layout all speak to a time when fortifications were essential for survival. Rebuilt from the ground up with so much care and attention to detail, even the most eagle-eyed history buff would struggle to tell which parts of Presidio La Bahia are centuries old and which are just a few decades fresh. But don't let the fresh coat of authenticity fool you. This place has seen some things. The 9 flags waving from its walls tell the dramatic tale of 6 nations and 3 militias that took turns calling the fort home, or battlefield, famous for being one of only 2 fortresses in original Mexican Texas. The Alamo, being its more famous sibling, Presidio La Bahia, has all the historical drama with a fraction of the Hollywood screen time. It serves as both a monument to American and Mexican history, and a chilling memorial to the bloody Goliad massacre of 1836. And while it doesn't get quite the same star treatment as the Alamo, the Presidio has plenty of stories to tell, some of which are still whispered by ghosts who never quite got the memo that the war ended. It all kicked off in October 1835, just 8 days after the Texan Revolution began, when 125 Texan separatists decided to storm the fort, which was being guarded by a tiny, and probably very nervous, group of Mexican soldiers. The defenders put up a fight, but the revolutionaries quickly overwhelmed them, took the fort, and started making some home improvements. By early 1836, Colonel James Fannin was in charge, renaming the place Fort Defiance, because if you're going to be rebellious, you might as well make it official. Then came February, and things got messy. The Alamo was under siege, and Fannin decided to help out. Except his version of rushing to aid involved moving at the speed of a Texas tumbleweed on a windless day. His troops barely made it a mile before giving up, and by the time the Alamo fell, his superiors were practically screaming at him to evacuate Presidio La Bahia. He did, but not before taking his sweet time. A few days after leaving, Fannin and his men were captured by Mexican forces and marched right back to the fort they had just left. 5 days later, the Mexican commander ordered them executed in what is now known as the Goliad Massacre. Around 342 soldiers were shot and burned, a grim finale to Fannin's ill-fated adventure. Just a month later, the war flipped, and by June, Republican forces rolled up to the fort, found the remains, and finally gave them a proper burial. But history moved on, and so did Texas. As the years passed, Presidio La Bahia faded into obscurity. By the time Texas joined the U.S., the once crucial fort was left to the elements, standing as a silent witness to the battles, betrayals, and ghostly echoes of its past. Visitors have reported all sorts of paranormal shenanigans going down at Presidio La Bahia. From ghostly apparitions to unexplained noises, the fort is a hotspot for paranormal activity. Ghost hunters and thrill seekers flock to this historic site, hoping to catch a glimpse of the supernatural and experience the thrill of a ghostly encounter. We're talking ghostly soldiers still marching the grounds, their spectral forms moving silently through the night. These apparitions are a reminder of the fort's violent past, and their presence adds an extra layer of mystery and intrigue to the site. It's as if the soldiers are still standing guard, protecting the fort from unseen threats. The chilling sounds of battle cries echoing through the night, sending shivers down the spines of those who hear them. These ghostly sounds are a haunting reminder of the battles that were fought here, and they serve as a testament to the bravery and sacrifice of the soldiers who gave their lives for their cause. And enough cold spots to make you think someone left the walk-in freezer open. These sudden drops in temperature are often associated with paranormal activity, and they add to the eerie atmosphere of the fort. Visitors have reported feeling an icy chill in certain areas, as if an unseen presence is watching them. So yeah, this place is basically a ghost hunter's Disneyland. With its rich history and high levels of paranormal activity, Presidio La Bahia is a dream destination for anyone interested in the supernatural. Ghost hunters come equipped with all sorts of gadgets and gizmos, ready to capture evidence of the fort's ghostly inhabitants. Visitors can also learn about the fort's history through informative plaques and displays scattered throughout the site. These educational resources provide valuable context and help bring the fort's history to life. Whether you're a history buff or just someone looking for a unique adventure, Presidio La Bahia has something to offer everyone. Many visitors choose to take guided ghost tours, where they can hear first-hand accounts of paranormal experiences and learn more about the fort's haunted history. These tours are a great way to explore the fort after dark and experience its eerie ambiance in a safe and controlled environment. Equipped with lanterns and guided by knowledgeable tour guides, these nighttime explorations offer a unique perspective on the fort's history and its ghostly inhabitants. The guides share spine-tingling stories and fascinating historical facts, making the experience both educational and thrilling. For those interested in the scientific side of ghost hunting, the fort offers plenty of opportunities to capture EVP recordings and analyze data. Many ghost hunters have reported capturing clear and compelling evidence of paranormal activity, from disembodied voices to unexplained noises. So next time you're in Goliad, Texas, make sure to visit Presidio La Bahia. Who knows, you might just have a ghostly encounter of your own. And remember, the past is never truly gone. It lingers in the places where history was made, waiting for those who are brave enough to seek it out. All right, folks, let's set sail on the high seas of hauntings and head over to Corpus Christi, Texas, the home of the legendary USS Lexington. Now, this isn't your granddad's fishing boat. This is a World War II aircraft carrier nicknamed the Blue Ghost. And let me tell you, that nickname isn't just for show. This ship has seen its fair share of action, from the Battle of the Coral Sea to the Pacific Theater. It's like a floating museum of military history, except the exhibits move on their own and sometimes whisper spooky secrets in your ear. The USS Lexington, originally built as the USS Cabot, was a 33,000-ton Essex-class carrier constructed in Quincy, Massachusetts. But before she could get too attached to that name, shipyard employees, who had also built the previous USS Lexington, petitioned for a name change to honor the vessel lost at the Battle of the Coral Sea in 1942. The Navy Secretary gave the thumbs up, and just like that, the Cabot was out and the new Lexington was in. She joined the Fifth Fleet at Pearl Harbor and wasted no time making history. Over 21 months of combat, her aircraft obliterated 372 enemy planes in the air, and another 475 on the ground, while also sinking or destroying a whopping ton of enemy cargo. Her gunners personally downed 15 planes and helped take out 5 more, proving she was no pushover. But war is never without its losses. Tragically, the first casualty from her ranks was Heisman Trophy winner Niall Kinnock, whose training flight ended in the ocean. Then, in 1943, Japanese forces landed a torpedo hit on the Lexington, killing 9 sailors. Yet, her crew managed to patch her up and return to Pearl Harbor, despite the fact that the Japanese confidently reported that she had been sunk. But she was not. Back in action by early 1944, the Lexington participated in assaults on Hollandia and Truk Lagoon, surviving heavy enemy fire completely unscathed. But guess what? The Japanese declared her sunk. Again. In fact, she was reported as sunk 4 separate times, leading to her legendary nickname, the Blue Ghost. You'd think after the third or fourth time they'd start double-checking. After World War II, the Lexington took an 8-year nap before getting a modern makeover and returning to duty in 1955, though she never saw combat again. By 1962, she had settled into Pensacola, Florida, where she spent nearly 30 years training the next generation of naval aviators. Finally, in 1991, after setting more records and outlasting every other Essex-class carrier, she was decommissioned for good. On November 26, 1991, she was officially turned over to Corpus Christi, Texas, and in 1992 she opened as the USS Lexington Museum on the Bay. Since then, staff have carefully maintained her, allowing more and more sections to be opened to the public over the years. Interestingly, the more areas that become accessible, the more ghostly encounters people seem to report. Coincidence? Maybe. Or perhaps the Blue Ghost is just living up to her name. If you're looking for a hands-on experience aboard the USS Lexington, congratulations. The resident ghosts are more than happy to oblige. Visitors and staff alike have reported being touched by unseen hands, often accompanied by an overwhelming sense of unease. Disembodied voices and the occasional blood-curdling scream echo through the corridors, sometimes paired with the unmistakable sounds of gunfire. Nothing like a little paranormal warfare to keep you on your toes. In the old kitchen, pots and pans still clank around like the ship's long-gone chefs are hard at work. Occasionally, the smell of freshly cooked food wafts through the air, which is both comforting and unnerving, considering there hasn't been an official meal served here in decades. Meanwhile, loud crashes erupt from nowhere, and phantom footsteps can be heard sprinting across the hangar bay in the dead of night. Shadowy figures zip around the decks, busy with their eternal to-do lists. It's widely believed that many of these spirits are simply stuck in time, doomed to relive their daily routines forever. Some are more mischievous than others. One museum employee was tormented by a particularly playful ghost with a weird obsession with pen caps. Over 5 weeks, 6 pen caps mysteriously vanished from his office. After countless searches, he gave up, only to return one morning to find all 6 caps neatly arranged in front of his keyboard. It's either a ghostly prank or the world's most passive-aggressive haunting. But the most famous ghost aboard the Lexington is a charming fellow named Charlie. He's often spotted in the engine room, giving incredibly detailed tours to visitors. Guests have raved to museum staff about how helpful he was, describing him as a handsome young man with blue eyes dressed in a crisp Y2-era uniform. Just one problem: no such guide exists. In fact, there's not supposed to be anyone stationed in the engine room. So, if you ever find yourself getting a history lesson from Charlie, just smile, nod, and maybe don't ask for his employee badge. The Hotel Galvez, born in 1911, was Galveston's way of telling the world, hey, we survived that nasty 1900 hurricane and we're ready to party again. Fast forward to 2021 and Dallas hotelier Mark Wyant scooped up the property, gave it a facelift with a casual $50 million renovation, and rebranded it as the Grand Galvez. But no matter how much you remodel, some guests never check out, especially the ghostly ones. Local author and historian Kathleen Maka, who literally wrote the book on this place, A History of the Hotel Galvez, 2021, points out that ghosts have been photobombing since the hotel's early days. One of the most heartbreaking spirits is Sister Catherine, a nun who was swept out to sea during the 1900 storm. When her body washed ashore, she was still tied with a clothesline to several orphaned children she had tried to save. Today, those same children seem to have turned the Grand Galvez into their eternal playground. Guests have reported hearing giggling, tiny feet running down the halls, and the unmistakable sound of bouncing balls. And if that's not enough, the hotel's spa, which sits on the site of its former ice cream parlor and candy store, apparently comes with a ghostly child whispering ice cream to passers-by. Not creepy at all. Nope, totally normal. But not all ghosts are content to haunt the hallways. Some just want a ride. Take the mysterious girl in the white dress with a violet sash. She's been spotted casually riding the elevator. Guests see her, assume she's just another visitor, but when they turn to say, "Have a nice stay," poof, she's gone. Now let's talk about the undisputed queen of hauntings at the Galvez, Audra, the Ghost Bride. In the 1950s, Audra checked into room 501 while waiting for her sailor fiancé to return from sea. Every day she climbed one of the hotel's rooftop turrets, scanning the horizon for his ship. But after days of no sign, she got the worst news. His ship was lost. Heartbroken, she ended her life in one of the turrets. Today, the room is ground zero for all kinds of spooky shenanigans. Lights flicker, faucets turn on and off, and shadowy figures pop up in mirrors and shower glass. It's so famously haunted that you have to book it a year in advance if you want to stay there in October. That's right, people are lining up to have a sleepover with Audra. But as Maka points out, ghost hunting sounds fun, until it isn't. She once joined a paranormal investigation in the room, and let's just say the ghosts didn't disappoint. It was surprisingly extremely active, she recalled. The ghost hunters? Yeah, they peaced out real quick. Turns out people think they want a close encounter with the supernatural, until they actually get one. Now let's stay in Galveston for our next story. Most people heading to the only Walmart on Galveston Island are just there for last-minute beach supplies or the shampoo they forgot in the mad dash to vacation mode. But not everyone. Some visitors aren't just grabbing sunscreen, they're ghost hunting. This Walmart, which opened in 1994, has been dubbed the most haunted Walmart in America. Sure, that title comes from TikTok, but hey, that's practically the new Smithsonian. Imagine being the poor soul at Walmart's corporate office in Arkansas who has to track those numbers. Long before Walmart took over this stretch of Seawall Boulevard, it was home to the St. Mary Orphan Home, run by the Sisters of Charity of the Incarnate Word. Tragically, on September 8, 1900, the Great Galveston Hurricane swept through, claiming the lives of 10 nuns and at least 90 children. In a desperate attempt to save the kids, the nuns, as we spoke of before, tied themselves to the children with clothesline. Only 3 boys survived, managing to break free and climb a tree. Now, the stories of hauntings at this Walmart are so common that, according to local ghost expert Kathleen Shanahan Maka, I would be shocked to find a Galvestonian who's never heard of it. That's right. The same place people go to buy bulk toilet paper is also a supernatural hotspot. And these ghosts, they're not just hanging around aimlessly. They seem to have a thing for electronics. They tend to like the electronic toys, Maka says. They will turn them on and off a lot. Ever been in Walmart and heard a toy go off by itself? Maybe it wasn't bad wiring. Maybe it was a ghost kid having a blast. Employees also report balls mysteriously rolling out of their cages and an invisible child bouncing a non-existent ball down the aisles. Then there's the eerie story from 2008, when FEMA workers entered the heavily damaged store after Hurricane Ike. When they entered, they heard children laughing and coughing, Maka says. That's right. While they were expecting emergency supplies, they got an unexpected dose of paranormal activity. A full search turned up no kids, but there were fresh, child-sized footprints in the muck-covered floor, even though the only way in had been locked. And then there's Denise Sandoval, a self-proclaimed ghost magnet, which honestly sounds like either a superpower or a terrible dating app bio. After spending 15 years working the overnight shift, aka prime ghost hunting hours, she now greets customers during the early shift, possibly for a little less paranormal chaos. But the ghosts, they still seem to like her. She's witnessed some next-level weirdness, from a fire extinguisher that launched itself 5 or 6 feet through the air, nearly taking out a little girl, shout out to the heroic shopping cart that blocked it, to ghostly faces appearing in the rubble during last year's store renovations. Sandoval isn't just a witness to Walmart's paranormal activity, she's documented it. In addition to writing 2 books, Galveston Ghost Tales and Galveston Orphan's Home, she shared her supernatural encounters in a series of TikTok videos. One clip shows mysterious footprints embedded in the tile, while another features a crybaby's doll creepily opening and closing its eyes for a solid 13 seconds. Because nothing says I'm never sleeping again like a haunted toy. My ultimate goal is I want a movie deal, Sandoval admits. And honestly, with all this material, she might be onto something. Even the store itself seems to play along, with its most popular Facebook video teasing, "You know what they say about the Galveston Walmart?" As for the managers on duty during an early Friday morning visit, they weren't fazed in the slightest by a reporter asking about ghosts. They refused to give their names and claimed they hadn't personally seen anything too spooky. But they did admit that all the ghost talk has been great for business. As one quipped, "If it brings us tourists, there's ghosts everywhere." Corporate marketing, take notes. So next time you're in Galveston's Walmart and hear a ball bouncing or a toy turning on by itself, you might want to finish your shopping quickly. And maybe don't check out the toy aisle alone. All right, y'all. I think I've had just about enough ghostly encounters for one video. I was all in at first, but after diving into these haunted locations, I'm officially creeped out. Every time I hear a noise in my house, I'm convinced a Texas ghost has followed me home. So, for my own sanity, and maybe my safety, I'm cutting this video short before something really unexplainable happens. But don't worry, this spooky ride isn't over yet. There are still plenty more haunted places lurking in the Lone Star State, and I'll be covering even more of them in part 3, because clearly, I enjoy scaring myself for your entertainment. I mean, who needs sleep when you have ghosts, right? If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next round of Haunted Texas Terror. And if you've ever had a paranormal experience in Texas, drop it in the comments. I want to hear all the creepy details. Misery loves company, and if I can't sleep tonight, neither should you. All right, I'm off to triple check that my doors are locked, leave every single light on, and maybe even sage my house just in case. Stay spooky, and I'll see you in part 3, if the ghosts don't get me first.